I bought my nephew a brand new truck for his 20th birthday. At dinner, he raised his glass and said, "To my idiot aunt trying to buy respect with money." All family laughed. I just left without a word. The next morning, his driveway was empty. And my phone exploded with 65 missed calls. You ever do something for someone and immediately regret it the moment they open their mouth? That was me, Betty, on my nephew Dylan's 20th birthday. I'm 40, single, no kids, and for the most part that doesn't bother me. I've built a comfortable life on my own terms. I run an accounting firm that's small but steady, and my weekends are quiet. Unless family is involved, which always comes with its own flavor of chaos. My sister Marlene, Dylan's mom, has had it tough. Her ex disappeared before Dylan was out of diapers. She raised him solo while working 2 jobs, and somewhere along the way she confused love with never saying no. Growing up, Dylan was always the loudest voice in the room. At first it was cute, funny even. But by the time he hit his teens, it was like he figured out people would laugh at anything if he said it loud enough. Didn't matter who he humiliated in the process. Family dinners turned into roast sessions, and Dylan was always the self-appointed host. I learned to keep my distance, say less, give less. But he's still my nephew. And for whatever reason I kept hoping he'd grow out of it. For his 20th I decided to go big. He'd been saving for a truck, barely scraping anything together from his warehouse job and side gigs. I thought maybe if he had something solid under him, something he didn't expect to get, it might change the way he saw himself. I didn't tell anyone. I went to the dealership a week before his birthday, paid for it in full, and had it detailed the morning of the dinner. Brand new black Toyota Tacoma. It looked like something out of a car commercial when I parked it down the block. We all met at Marlene's house. She made lasagna and garlic bread, Dylan's favorites. Cousins showed up with cheap wine and balloon bundles, his uncles brought 6-packs, and someone had picked up a cake that looked like it had seen better days. It was messy, loud, typical. When it was time for gifts, I handed him a little box with the keys in it. Didn't say much. Just smiled and nodded toward the driveway. He opened it, looked confused, then bolted outside. Everyone followed. When he saw the truck, he turned back toward me with this frozen half-smile, half-shock on his face. Felt like maybe, just maybe, he finally realized someone believed in him. Then he went back inside, picked up his beer, raised his glass and said it. "To my idiot aunt trying to buy respect with money." It was like a bucket of cold water. There was this beat of silence, then laughter. Real laughter. Not nervous or awkward. They actually laughed. His cousins, a couple uncles, even his grandma chuckled. And he loved it. You could see it in his face. He lived for that moment. Only Marlene didn't laugh. She didn't say anything, but she didn't laugh. I didn't either. I just stood up, grabbed my coat and left. Quiet. No scene, no drama. Just gone. I didn't sleep much that night. Not out of anger. More like disappointment I couldn't shake. I kept replaying the way they all laughed, like it was the most natural thing in the world to humiliate the person who just gave you a truck. Like dignity was optional when it came to me. At 6:13 the next morning, my phone started buzzing. Missed call. Then another. Then a flood of them. By 7:30 I had 65 missed calls and a dozen texts. I opened one from Marlene. "Where's the truck?" I smiled. Because by then his driveway was already empty. And that was just the beginning. When Dylan raised that glass and toasted me like a punchline, I felt something inside me flick off. Not out of rage. Not even embarrassment. It was colder than that. Like something died that had been holding on way too long. I didn't storm out for drama. I didn't want anyone chasing me or begging me to come back. I just left. Quiet, like I had finally accepted the truth everyone else seemed fine ignoring. Back home I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made tea and sat in my kitchen staring at the box where the spare key fob still sat. At some point around 3 in the morning I stood up, grabbed the key and drove back to my sister's neighborhood with the headlights off until I was a block away. The truck was right where I'd left it. Sitting in their driveway like a monument to a mistake. I slipped in, started it up and rolled away slow enough not to wake anyone, but fast enough to feel like I was undoing something. I didn't take it to a lot or put it on Craigslist. I drove it straight to my house and pulled into the garage. Then I turned off the GPS tracker and silenced the app that connected the truck to Dylan's phone. If he wanted to act like I didn't exist, then fine. I didn't exist. At 6:13 a.m. my phone buzzed once. Then again. Then again. By 7:30 I had 65 missed calls, half from Dylan, half from relatives who had suddenly found the moral high ground after laughing at me the night before. One text from Dylan just said, "Where is it?" Another said, "You're insane." And then, "You're pathetic." I didn't answer any of them. Around 9 a.m. I heard a car screech into my driveway. I peeked out the window and saw Marlene's car. Dylan climbed out and slammed the door hard enough that her side mirror shook. He didn't knock. He pounded over and over. 5 minutes straight. I finally opened the door because I knew he'd never leave unless I did. He barged right in. No hello. Just noise. He called me delusional. Said the gift was never about him. Said I was trying to make a moment because my life was so empty. No partner. No kids. Just spreadsheets and a cat. Then he said something I still can't forget. You bought me a truck to feel like someone would finally depend on you. That's sad, Aunt Betty. I slapped him. He stumbled back, stunned. Not from the force but from the fact that I did it at all. I told him to get out. He stared at me like he was waiting for me to apologize or break down. I didn't. He left in silence, slamming the door again. I stood there for a minute, shaking but not crying. I didn't feel weak. I felt done. 20 minutes later my phone rang. It was Marlene. She asked if Dylan had been at my house. I said yes. Then she told me he'd crashed. Apparently, right after leaving my place he flew through a yellow light too fast and spun out on a wet road, hitting a stop sign and nearly clipping a parked car. The front end of her sedan was destroyed. He walked away with a few bruises, but it could have been worse. And the part that stuck? It wasn't even the first time he'd crashed a car. Just the first time he hadn't had an excuse. Later that day Marlene came over looking like she hadn't slept. She sat on my couch without touching the tea I made her and stared at nothing. Then she said it. I don't think he deserves it. I don't think he deserves anything right now. She was talking about the truck. But we both knew it was bigger than that. Marlene sat on my couch for almost an hour that day, her purse still in her lap, hands clenched around the straps like they were the only things holding her together. I didn't say a word. I didn't offer advice or comfort. She looked like someone who had been sleepwalking through years of chaos and was only just waking up to the full scope of the damage. When she finally spoke, she didn't start with an apology for Dylan. She didn't defend him. She just said, I think I really messed this up. I didn't have to ask what she meant. She wasn't just talking about the truck. She told me everything. About the argument after the crash, how Dylan came home not looking shaken or grateful, just irritated. He hadn't apologized. He hadn't even mentioned the fact that he could have been seriously hurt. Instead he blamed the road, the weather, the visibility. Blamed me for making him angry in the first place. And then somehow he turned it into Marlene's fault. Said she never let him have anything without strings attached. That she hovered. That she was suffocating him like every weak parent does. Then he said maybe if she had her life together like me, she could afford to let things slide when people mess up. That maybe if she'd made better choices, he wouldn't be so stuck with idiots. She told me her hands were shaking when she yelled back. It had been years since she'd raised her voice at him. Somewhere along the way she'd stopped fighting him, telling herself it wasn't worth it, that he was still growing, still figuring things out. But this time she couldn't hold it in. She told him he was selfish. That he'd become mean. That his words didn't make people laugh, they hurt. That he took everything good and twisted it into something sour. That he didn't get to talk about respect when he'd never earned any. He rolled his eyes. She asked him, what would your dad say if he saw you right now? And instantly regretted it. He froze. Then he packed a duffel bag, took his cracked phone charger, a hoodie and her backup keys and walked out. That night he ended up at Aunt Valerie's. Now Valerie has always lived in her own little world. She's got wind chimes on every window, believes crystals can absorb rage, and thinks teenagers just need more herbal tea and sun exposure to turn their lives around. She welcomed Dylan without hesitation. Set up the guest room, gave him his own shelf in the fridge, even took the day off work to ground the energy in the house, with some kind of incense ritual. She texted me the next morning. He's here. Safe. Just needs space. 3 days later she called again. And this time she didn't sound like herself. Betty, she said, we need to talk about the energy shift in the house. Which is Valerie code for everything is going sideways. Apparently, Dylan had been staying out until 2 or 3 in the morning, coming home reeking of beer and fast food, blasting music while she was trying to sleep, and throwing his dirty laundry in the corner like he expected someone else to deal with it. When she asked him to help carry groceries inside, he told her he was not in the mood. When she asked him to vacuum, he said, I'm not your kid. And when she mentioned that her back had been hurting and she needed help in the yard, he laughed and said, you should hire someone. She said it calmly, but I could tell it shook her. I've never had someone speak to me like that in my own home, she said. Not once. Not even when I was a teacher. I asked her if she wanted me to come get him. She hesitated, then said, no, not yet, but I'm giving him a week. After that he's on his own. I hung up and walked into the garage. The truck was still there, clean, untouched, like nothing had happened, like it was waiting for a different version of Dylan to come get it. The one who used to hug me for no reason, who once spent an entire afternoon helping me plant tomatoes in my backyard without being asked. I kept thinking about something Marlene told me years ago, back when Dylan was in middle school. He'd punched a kid for making fun of his worn-out sneakers. Got suspended. When I called her about it, she sounded exhausted but defiant. She said, "He's not a bad kid. He's just loud. And hurting." And for a long time I held on to that. I think we all did. But loud and hurting doesn't give you the right to tear through people like they're nothing. It doesn't excuse wrecking a car or humiliating someone who tried to help you or talking to your family like they're beneath you. It doesn't give you a license to burn every bridge and then complain about being alone. The truth is we all let it go on too long. We laughed when he said cruel things at the dinner table. We rolled our eyes when he skipped out on helping with dishes or made excuses for every bad decision. We said, "He's just young." But he wasn't that young anymore. No. Now he was running out of people willing to make room for the damage. Marlene came by the next day, looking more like herself than I'd seen in a while. Tired, yes, but focused. She looked at the truck in the garage and said, "Take it back. Please." Then she paused. "And don't ever give him anything that big again. Even if he begs. Even if he's crying. He has to earn something. Just once in his life." And for the first time since this whole thing started, I could see she meant it. I called the dealership early the next morning. Told them I wanted to return the truck. The guy on the other end sounded confused. I gave him the VIN, explained it was barely driven, no damage, barely out of the wrapper. He said sure, but it'd cost me restocking fees, depreciation, paperwork. I told him I didn't care. Just book the return. I didn't take it back that day though. I needed to think, to let the dust settle. The truck stayed in my garage, covered with an old canvas tarp I used when painting the spare room. I unplugged the battery just to be safe, left it sitting there like a sealed regret. That same afternoon there was a knock on my door. I expected Dylan. Maybe Marlene again. But it was Valerie. She looked frayed. She's always been composed, the peaceful one with her long scarves and soft voice. Not this time. Her hair was pulled into a bun like she hadn't tried, and she didn't even pretend to be calm. She walked in, dropped her purse on the floor and said, "He's gone." I stared at her. "What do you mean gone?" "He left last night. Took his bag and half the stuff from my freezer. No note. Just vanished. I tried calling. He's not picking up." Then she pulled something from her coat pocket and unfolded it. A printout of an old invoice from a local auto shop. One she hadn't used in years. "I don't even know where this came from," she said. Neither of us understood what it meant, until 9 that night. I was cleaning up the kitchen when I got a FaceTime call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it ring out, but something told me to pick up. It was Dylan. He was sitting behind the wheel of my truck. I could see motion blur behind him, streetlights whipping by. He was driving fast. Way too fast. My stomach dropped. He smiled at the screen like this was some big joke. "You really thought you could just take it away from me like that?" I asked how he even found it. The truck was locked, battery unplugged, tracker disabled. "Spare key," he said. "You've kept it in that tin box since forever." "I've known." Of course. I hadn't even thought about it. I told him to pull over to stop the car. He ignored me. "You people act like I'm the problem, but I'm the only one who's real. You don't like it, so you cut me off and call it tough love." Then he looked away from the camera. I heard a horn blare. Tires screeching. His face twisted, the screen jerked. Then the call went dead. I just stood there holding the phone frozen. 5 minutes later Valerie called me, panicked. She'd just gotten a call from the Dylan had been in a crash. He'd gone flying through an intersection, hit the median, jumped the curb and slammed into a dumpster behind a shopping plaza. Airbags deployed. The truck was done. Totaled. Smashed front to back. But somehow, miraculously, he walked away with only minor injuries. A fractured wrist. A burn from the airbag. A few cuts. It could have been so much worse. The next morning I went to the hospital with Marlene. She looked like a ghost. She said he barely spoke to her, just stared at the ceiling, doped up on painkillers. When we stepped into his room, Dylan wouldn't look at me. Wouldn't even acknowledge I was there. His hand was wrapped, his face bruised, but he still had that defiant set in his jaw. Marlene sat beside him. I stayed by the door. Later she told me what he whispered to a nurse when he thought no one was listening. She took everything from me. Not the crash. Not his mistakes. Me. That's when it really hit. Dylan wasn't just reckless. He believed his life had been stolen from him by the people trying to help. He didn't just lack accountability. He had built an entire story in his head where he was the victim. Always. I left the hospital without saying anything to him. Because by then I realized this wasn't about the truck anymore. It was about every door that had ever opened for him without question. And the one time someone finally closed one, he tried to blow it off the hinges. After the hospital, the story could have ended quietly. But Dylan doesn't go quietly. He never has. He was discharged the next morning. Marlene picked him up and drove him home, but he didn't stay. Not even one full night. She told him he could stay for a few days on the couch with conditions: no disappearing, no yelling, no more blaming everyone else. And for a few hours it looked like he might actually try. But by midnight he was gone. Left a note scrawled on the back of an envelope: "Don't wait up. I'll figure it out." We didn't hear from him for 3 days. Valerie called me in a panic thinking he'd crashed somewhere again. Marlene texted every name in his contact list. Nothing. Then suddenly a photo showed up in the family group chat, sent by Dylan, no caption. Just a picture of him on someone's grimy futon, holding a half-eaten slice of gas station pizza, with a smirk like he thought it was all hilarious. Turned out he was crashing with a high school friend named Jared. Kid with a shady little apartment over a bait shop 2 towns over. Jared, according to Marlene, was the kind of guy who thought rules were optional and day drinking was a personality. They'd once tried to start a podcast called Dumb and Real and recorded 3 episodes about conspiracy theories before giving up because editing was too corporate. Perfect match. The thing about Dylan is he always finds a couch. He's charming in that fast-talking, self-deprecating way. People fall for it. He'll make you laugh, then make you wonder if you're overreacting when he crosses a line. It buys him time. But even that has a limit. 2 weeks later, Valerie texted me: "Jared kicked him out." Apparently, Dylan screamed at his girlfriend over a spilled drink and broke a lamp. So just like that he was homeless again. No Valerie. No Jared. No Marlene. Nobody wanted him. Not after the truck, the crash, the shouting, the disrespect. He'd hit every branch on the way down and now there were no branches left. Marlene called me that night. I could hear the TV in the background but she wasn't watching it. She just said, "He's run out of places to go." I didn't respond. She added, "I'm not ready to let him back in. Not until something actually changes." And I was proud of her for saying it. But I also knew that something had already started shifting. 3 days later I was locking up my office when I saw a beat-up Ford pull into the lot. Parked crooked. Headlights still on. I didn't recognize it until the driver's door swung open and Dylan stepped out, hoodie pulled low over his face, moving slower than usual like gravity had gotten heavier. He didn't say hi. Just walked up and said, "Can we talk?" I unlocked the door and let him in. He didn't ask for water, didn't crack a joke, didn't do the whole performance he usually did when he was about to manipulate someone. He just sat across from my desk and stared at his hands for a long time. Then he said it. "You win." I didn't respond. He looked up. "I have nothing. No car. No place. No money. And no one who trusts me. That's what I've earned. And I get it now. Took me too long but I get it." So I waited. I wanted more than some dramatic confession. He added, "I've been going to therapy. Jared's cousin told me about this clinic that gives you a few free sessions if you're under 25 and don't have insurance. I've been twice." That caught me off guard. He said the therapist told him he had unresolved stuff. That his anger wasn't random, it came from somewhere, probably his dad leaving. Probably never being told no in a way that stuck. He said the guy used some term, emotional entitlement. And Dylan said he didn't know exactly what it meant, but it made him feel sick when he heard it. "I blamed everybody," he said. "But I think I mostly blamed myself. I just couldn't say it out loud." Then came the part that really surprised me. He said he wanted to pay me back for the truck. Not all at once. Probably not even in full. But he wanted to try. He'd picked up a job at a local garage changing oil and tires. Nothing fancy but honest work. He showed me grease under his fingernails to prove it. "I owe you." "Oh, Mom. I owe a lot of people," he said. "And I'm not asking to move in. Or borrow money. I just wanted you to know that I see it now." For the first time in years he didn't sound like a kid trying to talk his way out of a mistake. He sounded like someone who'd finally felt the full weight of the cost. I told him I appreciated him coming. And that if he really meant it, the best thing he could do was stay steady. Not perfect. Just steady. And then without being asked he went to see Marlene. He showed up at her door, wrist still in a brace, and told her he was sorry. For everything. For using her as a punching bag. For blaming her for the things she couldn't fix. For never once saying thank you when it counted. She didn't hug him. She cried, nodded, and said, "I believe you want to be better. But wanting isn't the same as doing." He said he understood. And he's still proving it. He sends me a picture of every paycheck and I watch him subtract $25 every time. He says it's not about the number. It's about keeping a promise. He hasn't asked for anything since. And the best part? Last week he texted me a photo. Not of food. Not of him showing off. Just a picture of his new therapist's card and under it, "3rd session tomorrow." Still going. For the first time it wasn't about me. It wasn't even about the truck. It was about him finally becoming someone who doesn't run when a door closes. And knowing how to knock before trying to open another. By the end of that year, It felt like Dylan was finally on his way to becoming someone different. Not instantly, nothing about him ever changed quickly, but something had shifted. His updates came every couple of weeks. A text here and there. Small things. Got bumped to 30 hours this week. Paid off another $50. Only owe you what, like $7,000 now? Oh. Therapist says I need to apologize again. So, you were right. About all of it. He never asked for money. Never hinted about moving in. He stayed with another friend for a while, a guy who worked at the same garage. Then he started renting a tiny room above the shop. No kitchen, no closet, but his own key and no one waiting to clean up after him. It wasn't a redemption arc. Not really. He still made dumb decisions. Missed therapy 1 week. Lost his temper with a customer once and nearly got fired. But the difference was he didn't spin it into a joke or a sob story. He owned it. Told me about it like someone who wanted to get better, not someone who wanted me to say it wasn't his fault. Meanwhile, Marlene and I started talking more. About him, but also about other things. Old memories. Plans. I think for a long time our relationship had been shaped by Dylan. By what he needed, what he ruined, what he took. Now, with him out of the house and trying to fix his own life, there was finally room for us to just be sisters again. One night she called me out of nowhere. No agenda. Just wanted to talk. Said she'd finally taken a real vacation day for the first time in years. Went hiking. Alone. Then she said, I think I spent so long being afraid he'd fall apart without me, I forgot I could stand on my own. That hit me. And then something happened that none of us expected. Dylan's dad reached out. He'd heard about the crash, from someone in the family or maybe through Facebook. No one really knew. But he called Marlene. Said he wanted to meet Dylan. Said he changed. Said all the usual things people say after 20 years of silence. Marlene was skeptical. She told Dylan, but made it clear she wasn't going to push him either way. Dylan didn't respond right away. Took him almost a full week. Then he texted her. If he wants to talk, he can come to therapy with me. 1 session. That's it. She forwarded me the message and added, I don't know where this version of him came from, but I'm finally proud of him. Really proud. They went. 1 session. Dylan didn't come out glowing with forgiveness or anything like that. But he told me later over coffee that it helped. He cried more than I did, he said. Which was weird. But kind of satisfying. Then he looked out the window and added, I'm not mad the way I thought I'd be. I just feel like I've been walking around in clothes that never fit. And now I'm finally figuring out what's actually mine. It's been almost a year since the toast, the truck, and the crash. He still doesn't have a car. Still hasn't paid me back in full. And honestly, I don't care if he ever does. What matters is that he's showing up to his life now. 1 session at a time. 1 paycheck at a time. 1 moment at a time. The last time I saw him, we were standing outside the garage. He wiped his hands on his work shirt and asked me something I didn't expect. You think we're good now? You and me? I looked at him. Really looked at him. And I said, we're getting there. He nodded, smiled. Not that smirk he used to hide behind, but something quiet, something real. And then he went back to work. For the first time in years, I didn't walk away wondering when the next disaster would hit. Because this time I didn't see a boy trying to outrun the truth. I saw a man finally facing it,